The time is now.
Hey, good morning. The mighty win has just disappeared. We've been having a couple of technical issues. There we go. With our mate Corey over there in Oz, who's literally
Good
set up
day,
for
mate.
the first time. Good day, mate. Indeed.
Good day, everyone, and a very bright morning.
Indeed, it's a bright morning for you. It's not a bad morning for us, if I'm honest with you, down in Warwickshire.
It'll be mid-evening over there, is it not?
Yeah, it's 8:15 at night, and we're going through some extreme thunderstorms, so probably a little bit different to what you guys are imagining at the moment.
Yeah, it's
not sunny Australia today.
Yeah, it's not a bad day today, to be fair, down here. It was a bit miserable yesterday. So we are the morning of the presser. Like I say, this was the start for our Aussie buddy to jump on board and press that live button. So it was all a bit new for him. So we've been and he's been having some technical issues. As always, you know, when you do a rerun before the program starts, you know, you get everything set up, and we've all been there, and it just doesn't work. So he's been having headphone issues. Me yesterday had loads of issues because of the electrical cuts that we've had. So like I say, that's the beauty of us being live. Never edited. It is what you get. So without further ado, let's start the show with the housework. So again, welcome to all watching across the platforms. Thanks to everybody that works back in the background. Don't forget, people, hit that like button if you can. It just helps us get further as a channel to other supporters. A couple of things that you can do, which are totally free. That's one is subscribe, and the other one is hit that bell. You'll get that 30-minute warning to say that we're going live every time we come on board. And like I say, we're never edited. If you want to help us grow, you can become a member. It's a small monthly fee. If you can afford to do so, that will help us out massively. If you've got a question for myself, the mighty, or Corey, then put a Q in front of that question. We'll do our best to answer it. But again, apologies if we don't. And if you want to guarantee it, then follow the $sign. Throw us a Talk TV super chat, and that'll guarantee your message is read out. Anybody that becomes a member during the show, or any of our lovely members that gift them out there, will be highlighted and thanked as we go. And don't forget, if you can and you want to, you can jump on board with the £5 entry fee to participate in the Prediction League. If you can do that, then you're a better person than I can, because at the minute, none of my scores are coming what I expect. So, like I say, you can jump on board with that. All the information is in the details below. So, Corey, I didn't really get you. I mean, I saw you in the chat and everything else, but I really didn't get your take on Wednesday's game. And obviously, we've at length have had agreements. We've had disagreements. We've talked about the rotation of the squad. What have you thought so far on the players that have come into the side? Do you believe now that Eddie's chosen few that he's brought in have strengthened the squad depth-wise? There's a few question marks, especially the man in the middle of us. Obviously, Mighty didn't want that many changes against a very strong Spurs side on paper. But unfortunately, against the mighty black and white wall, they come unstuck a little bit. Your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, mate, to be honest, I think that's the strongest bench that I've seen Newcastle have, probably 10 years in a long, long time. Had just so much quality on the bench. And, the lads who came in and started was probably one of the best performances I've seen of the season. Over the last few games, the passing for me has been pretty shocking, to be fair. Just so many wasted passes these last few games. So to see the passing this game was, it was night and day to what we've been seeing. So that was incredible. I think after the first 10 minutes, we were very unlucky not to be 2-0 up. Barnes missed that shot. That was incredible link-up play in the box. Big Nick feeding it into him. And I think, usually 9 out of 10 times he probably goes to that far corner, but he just decided to go inside, and he was unlucky there. And I can't remember, there was another one. I think Ramsey as well. Ramsey in the first 5-7 minutes should have scored a goal. So, yeah, I was really pleased. I think they didn't really have a sniff, to be honest. And like you said, it was a strong Spurs side, and we rotated. So, no complaints from me, to be fair.
No, I mean, for me, the one thing I loved, and it's sometimes very difficult to. And I don't want to sound like, as though I'm above anybody else, but sometimes we get stuck on the word 4-3-3 without rotation, without changing. And even though Eddie Howe in previous presses has come out and we talked, he was explained about, will you go back to a 4-4-2? And Eddie says the trouble is, well, the beauty of having this 4-3-3 is you get so many variants of the formation, and I think that was evident on Wednesday against Tottenham. You saw a 4-4-2 at times, especially with Willock. And I wanted to ask you, buddy, is watching Willock on Wednesday. It certainly gave me a little bit of a boost, if you like, when you look at the depth of squad now that we've got, because obviously Willock was the one that was obviously touted by a lot of fans to be the one that potentially is next in line for sale to get rid of, as he wasn't bringing anything to the team. And yet in the formation and with the right players to do the donkey work, the workload behind, giving Willock that free role to play alongside Voltemada, at times he looked dangerous. And it was an impressive display, I thought, from Willock.
Yeah, no, to be completely fair, I'm not too sure. I think that's the first time we've seen Ramsey and Willock in a midfield together with Sandro. So they complement each other really well, to be honest. I think that just proves the strength of squad we have now. Picking the midfield three, that's become a bit of a challenge now. In later years, it was pretty locked on who was going to play, but now you can make a shout for all of them, to be honest. Ramsey can come in, Willock can come in. And on Willock, yeah, we don't really obviously play with a traditional number 10, and I think he's probably the closest thing we've got to a traditional number 10. So yeah,
What,
he's
from
just
Big
so
Nick?
dangerous. Nah, from Willock, I feel like he's very close to like an attacking midfielder, and he's just creating so many problems, to be honest. So, yeah, I'd love to see him get involved a bit more, to be honest, and I think we will do with more fitness he gets. I think we'll see a lot more of him. Just got to stay fit. That's a big thing.
Yeah. There's a I know you've starred one there. I just want to put Shane's up just while we're talking about what happened on Wednesday, because Shane is saying here that what annoyed him is we didn't manage the game very well. The 10 minutes before half time, we were too rushed and just needed to slow it down. Well, we've been talking about this 100-mile-an-hour football for some time now, haven't we? And I do think, what Newcastle are, if I'm honest with you, it's as if we are waiting to put a few goals past a team. That's what it looks like and feels like to myself. And I think because we're not taking the chances early on during that dominating period, I think, Shane is absolutely right. We are looking very rushed. We are looking very much like a team that's pushing too hard at times and trying to force the game into a path where, we don't need to. So some of the passes go right. You've mentioned that, Corey. But I thought it was a little bit more disciplined. And what I did like previously on Wednesday night was the passing lanes that Malik Chow gave us, that Shaw gave us. Very direct, very progressive, completely missing out the midfield. And for me, what I've witnessed previously is the likes of Dan Burn, bless him, because it's not his strength, these long balls. When he's playing at
To be
left
fair,
centre back,
to be on that, Dan Burn, incredible service. I thought, to be honest, he
down the
played some
left-hand
great
side.
balls. Yeah,
Yeah,
incredible.
absolutely.
That was one
Yeah,
of the better games I've seen him play. So he's definitely stepped that up. So yeah, that's definitely a big part of his game that we're probably missing. Is just that attacking threat, to be honest. But his crosses, he was pretty mobile on the ball as well. He's taken after Big Nick a little bit. So, I was really impressed. I was really impressed with his passing.
Yeah, me too, mate. Like I say, but we've mentioned Dan Burn before about his qualities on the ball aren't at the levels of the Malik Chows and the Fabian Shaw. So he has a tendency straight away to either find Bruno in the middle or Tonali. So when you've got a different player playing in that centre half position, you are, I suppose, directing traffic in a different way, and I'm trying to um, make it sound as though I'm not making it a discredit towards Dan Burn, because he does
Yeah.
give us something different. But I understand what he's saying. Why should I take a percentage pass, long ball, when my abilities are less than somebody who can do it easily?
Hmm.
So he'll pass on that aspect of the game, if you like, to somebody else, and I think that is a credit to him, as a player, because, like I say, he knows his levels of ability. He's not one to say or try and be somebody that he's not. So, I love that now at the minute, because we have such a variant of centre backs that can play different roles and bring different qualities to the team.
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right. I think that's what makes Dan Burn as reliable as he has been for us, is because he doesn't try and do things that he can't do. And that's we get that consistency from him, to be honest. But
Hmm.
it's definitely something, like I said before, I think it's something that's definitely improving in his game, and playing alongside Tiao and these other great passes of the boy is only going to get better at doing it. So, yeah, no, I can totally agree. I kind of don't want him to try too much and maybe get us caught out, be too risky. But if it's on, it's on. And I think his strength is really being able to pick and choose when to play that ball and when not to play that ball. And I think he's just doing an outstanding job of that, really picking his moments and when it's appropriate and when it's not.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. We are literally 5 minutes away from the start of the presser, ladies and gents. What type of questions you're expecting today, then, mate? I mean, in the past, it's been very little about the game upcoming, more on things that Eddie really has very little control of, according to him, anyway. So when you look at it, it's like a case of, are we going to talk football or are we going to talk politics? Is usually the thing. I'm sure the issues of a pedestrian nearly getting knocked over in the lanes are going to come to mind.
Yeah.
Are you with us now?
I'm back now. I can hear.
You
Yeah,
you got to
I
leave a
told,
few
I
more
told.
times before the press will win.
Yeah, exactly. You're,
So I've got a clue what you've been talking about, guys.
That's all right. We aren't just literally talking about Wednesday's game. And I've just said to Corey, what type of questions are you expecting today? Something about the game on Sunday, or more of politics going on behind the scenes?
Well, I'm hoping that one of the questions from one of the Geordie journos is going to be, have we seen two keepers on the bench for the last time? Because I've, I had a conversation with them to that effect, saying, will somebody please ask Eddie if we've seen two keepers on the bench for the last time, because I don't think there's any excuse for it now at all.
Stevie in the chat there saying your lip is smudged.
What have you been doing when you're cutting off? Being a little bit
I'm not going to ask, mate.
I've been having, I don't know what's the matter. Didn't matter anyway. The viewers are not interested in our technical problems. Yeah. So I want to hear. Basically, what I want to hear is questions about the West Ham game.
Yeah.
It's the West Ham presser, so I want to hear questions about the West Ham game and what his plans are for that. Now, obviously, we know for a fact he's not going to give us any, dramatic insight into what the team's going to be. But again, a bit like last week, where does the West Ham game rank in comparison to the Bilbao game next week? Well, no, it's not next week, actually. Well, when I think about it, no, we've got the international break coming up, haven't we? So, so there shouldn't really be I see no reason why we shouldn't play our strongest 11.
Well,
we're rotated as well.
Yeah, I think that is spot on. I mean, rugby's talking now. We have 9 spots on the bench. There will. Sorry, it's just gone off the line there. Where are we? Where's he gone? We have 9 spots on the bench. There will likely only be 1 keeper, but Champions League we will have 2. You see,
Well, the thing in the Champions League, it's not so bad because in the Champions League, Thompson classes as a youth player.
Yeah.
So he's not taking up a space as such.
Yeah, but there's usually like some Ruddy on the bench, though. Isn't
Yeah,
there?
well,
it's never the
those days should be gone forever. As far as
we're going to give him an appearance for his birthday. It was his birthday the other week. We'll give him a Champions League appearance.
Give him a Champions League appearance, yeah, exactly. Stevie OB9KX, he's asking, is Alfie Harrison anywhere near the first team? Well, according to rumours, Stevie, he's one of 6 academy players that could be potentially moved on in the summer. Not really hitting the high notes. So there you go. Just seen the comments there on top stories. Breaking news, according to the Chronicle. Let's see what the Chronicle have to say before I go in any further. Eddie Howe's press conference live. Newcastle boss on Wissa injuries. What? It's not started yet. Howe up in 10 minutes. What? I tell you, I do love the Chronicle. I really do. They come up with some right.
The level of journalism between the press conference and the Chronicles are shocking. Some of the journals that they're getting at these presses, you can't believe it. It's like the other week, there was 7 questions about Arne Slot. He refused to answer it the first 6 times. Then what makes you think he's going to do it on the 7th attempt? Just such a waste of a question, to be honest. It's frustrating to watch him sometimes.
Here we go. We are ready to go. Are you doing it with or shall I?
No, you do it.
Hi, Damien. I am.
Morning, everyone. We will try and get through some Sundays as well at the end, so if you can keep questions back and keep it to single questions where you can, that would be very much appreciated. We'll start with Razor, please.
Hi Eddie, can we just start with some reaction from you please to the quarter-final draw? You will have a home tie and it's against Fulham, who you've just played.
Yeah, we asked for a home tie, so that was greatly received. I think tough game. Having just played against Fulham, I think it makes it an interesting one for us because it was a very narrow victory, and the strength of the Premier League is that every game against any Premier League team is very difficult. So we'll look forward to it when it comes round. But we're pleased to be at home.
Are there any fresh injury worries ahead of the trip to West Ham from where you were earlier this week?
No, don't think there's anything new. I think we're still managing Will Asula's ankle. We'll see how he is today. But apart from that, I think we are as we were.
And what about Lewis Hall? How close is he to being involved in a matchday squad again?
Yeah, he's very close. I think he hasn't trained with us yet, so hopefully he'll be training with us today for the first time. We'll see how he looks. I think he's worked really hard. He's looked after himself. He looks in really good shape. But then we have to introduce him back into the squad at the right time.
Following that bout of illness and given the performance that he put in, and once again, typically the energy that he showed the other night, would you say Sandro Tonali is probably back at 100%?
Yeah, well, if he was at 80, I'd say, well, what a player we've got. We've got another 20 to give. But I'd say he looked very good physically. I mean, he tired at the end, naturally, because I think he'd given so much. But I think you can see his qualities. I was delighted that he's back in the form that he was on Wednesday.
Back-to-back wins in the Premier League are such an important thing, aren't you, as you try and propel yourself up the table? How significant would it be to achieve that if you can win this weekend?
Yeah, it'd be huge for us, and I think it's only with back-to-back wins, if you look at the league table, that we're going to propel ourselves up because it's so tight. There's a lot of teams congested around where we are, and you're looking for one positive result to try and elevate you. So, yeah, this is a big game for us. I mean, all the games in the Premier League are so important. But as we go towards the next international break, the next 2 are huge.
What do you make of the situation at West Ham? Because they obviously haven't started the season well and there's been a change of manager too.
Yeah, a bit of change there. And I think the thing I'd say from looking at the squad, they've got a group of very good players. There's no doubting the quality of the players they have, especially in the attacking areas. I mean, we're going to have our work cut out, keeping a good defensive structure and making sure that we limit the space for all their attacking talent. So I think the challenge is whenever you play away, our away form's not been strong enough. We know that. That's something we want to rectify and put right. We were working hard to do that in this game.
And lastly, how nice will it be to see Callum Wilson again?
Yeah, it'll be great to see Callum, but I think most importantly we have a job to do against him. I think I've said many times in this position how good I think he is, and his qualities as a player are undoubted. So again, for our defenders and for our whole team, we need to be concentrated against him, because it's just one moment, one lapse in concentration, and he will punish you. So look forward to seeing him and embracing him after the game, but it's about work and trying to stop him. Thanks, Reza. Keith?
Eddie, it seems like a long time ago, back in March, when you won there just before the cup final, but you won there. West Ham haven't won since then at home, so you've actually got a win there since. What's the word?
I'm
You've won at the London Stadium more recently than West Ham have. You won there back in March, as you remember. So.
Yeah, I remember the game. I mean, I think it was a massive win for us. I said afterwards, I think to a few raised eyebrows among you guys, because for me that was a massive win, because it was just before the cup final. We needed a win. I can't remember, maybe going through a slightly tricky spell at the time, and it just relaxed us before the final and gave us that shot of confidence we needed. Bruno scored with a late goal, which gave us a great feeling, and it wasn't our best game, but huge win. But I think whenever you go to the London Stadium, it's a difficult ground to go to, and we don't underestimate West Ham in any way. So this will be a game where we have to be good in all aspects of our play and continue our good form.
I set myself up next door by saying my two questions.
You did.
Next door,
I was disappointed with that, actually.
A lot of big money transfers in the summer. A lot of big money strikers moving. We saw the likes of Alexander Isak, Ekitike, Sesko, Gyökeres, João Pedro. The one you signed, Nick Voltemad, has scored more goals, or is leading the scoring stakes ahead of all of those. Also, the two he scored in the Carabao Cup and the Champions League as well. It is early days, but do you feel that the signing of Nick has worked out as well as you could have hoped, or better?
It's early days, as you say, Keith, and I prefer to keep any answer to that question saved for a future date, because I think time will tell. We're really pleased with Nick. We're really happy with him. I think he's, on and off the pitch, he's been first class. The way he's conducted himself, the way he's handled the move, the way he's embraced his teammates, his team ethics are excellent. So he's got, again, talking about Callum, but he's got an ability to score goals. He's got an ability to be in the right position. Technically, very, very good. I mean, some of the interplay again on Wednesday was one move which Harvey Barnes narrowly missed. It was a great team move, and he was pivotal to it, and you can see his qualities. So we still have to bring out more in his game and help him in every way that we can, but the early signs are really positive.
It feels as though opposition defenders don't really know what they're going to get from him as well, because he drops in deep, takes it to feet, but he scored a few important headers as well. He looks like he's a real difficult player to mark or expect what he's going to do next.
Well, he's got variety in his game. I don't think he's one-dimensional. And I don't think he can be, because I think with his height, he's slightly different. But then you add his technical ability, and that's, again, sometimes a surprise for opponents, I think. His challenge is consistency and long-term success, because teams will obviously work out plans for him, as we do for all our opponents. And he's got to continue to find a way to score goals.
Thanks. Thank you. Andy?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
You said a few weeks ago Newcastle were a few clicks away from fully clicking. So completely unimaginative from my perspective, but how close are they to fully clicking now?
I don't remember saying that, but yeah, if I did, then great. Yeah, I think I'll always say we've got a few more clicks to go. I think the last few games has been positive for us. I think we've looked, most importantly, I think before you talk about the performances, our attitude to the game, especially on Wednesday. It's a big test for the squad in terms of mindset, in terms of all the things that you're looking for in a Newcastle team. But from minute one, when Anthony Elanga races 60 yards to try and press their goalkeeper, you know we're in a good place. And that continued through the game. The body language of the team was excellent, and we won, I think, in part because of that.
Bruno said to me pre-season that he felt like the best Bruno ever coming into the season. Is he the best that you've seen him in his time here at Newcastle?
I think he's in a really good place. I go back to the Fulham game, his last game, where he started. I thought he was really, really good. I mean, of course, he scored the late goal, which was decisive for us, but his drive and his tenacity and his ability to keep going, even when it's not perfectly suited for the team, I think has been a standout quality. His leadership skills are improving all the time. So, yeah, I think his game and his career is in a really good place, but touched on there with Nick, you can't stand still. You've got to keep reaching for more, and that's one of the great things about Bruno. I think he wants that, and he's always working at his game.
Just finally, I saw something the other day that this season's starting to be labelled the season of the set piece, given the long throws, given the proficiency of certain teams in the Premier League. How do you view it overall, would you say, from a set piece perspective, the Premier League?
Well, there's so much to discuss there. Yeah, I mean, I think it is unique. You're going to every game and we're talking long throws, and us ourselves, we have a long throw, which is great variety, really. It allows us to use it in many different ways. Height is key. You can't have a team that's too small. That's something we talk a lot about with recruitment, because the balance of that is crucial, where you get your height and how you get your height in different positions. Because games are won and lost by it, and you saw our first goal against Tottenham with Fabi's great header. It was a decisive moment in the game. So, yeah, we'll continue to try and make sure we're on the right side of the set-piece game, and we're innovative and keep pushing the boundaries.
Thank you. Nisha?
Hi Eddie.
Hey.
On Wednesday you spoke about how well the players you brought into your starting lineup performed for you against Spurs. Have any of them given you a bit more to think about for the selection on Sunday?
Yeah, they have, and I think that's what you want. That's what I wanted pre-game. I didn't want the team I picked to not perform. I wanted everyone to perform at their best and to challenge the other players who were playing, challenge everybody to make sure that everyone is aware that one bad game can cost you. And I think that's a really healthy feeling for the squad to have. Everyone has to be super alert that they've got to continue to give really strong performances for themselves and for the team, to ultimately be successful in the various competitions we're in.
You said that you need to be on it in all aspects of your game on Sunday, but West Ham are in a really difficult moment. So how do you balance that need to not be complacent, but you also have to be ruthless as well?
Yeah, I think it's about us. It always is. Whenever you're going into any game, home and away, you want to see the principles of play and our attitude to the game to be really strong. And I felt, if you look back to the last 3 games that we've won, we've had that feeling going into the game that we're really focused on our performance, and the energy's been really good between the players. That can't change for any game. And as I said, we don't underestimate any opponent in the Premier League.
Okay. Just a reminder, we'll squeeze the Sundays in, so we'll probably set aside 15 minutes here for this section and then move it on. Damien first, then to Ian.
Morning, Eddie. Just going back to Nisha's question there, given the competition you have in the squad, in your managerial career, has it ever been more difficult to pick a team?
No, I'd say probably not. I said, when you look around the squad and the group of players that we have, it's not easy to pick a team, because you're dealing with very, very good players across the board, all with slightly different strengths, and it's a case of just trying to pick a team that you feel will have the best chance of winning the next game. That's how I view it. That's how I picked the team on Wednesday. I wanted to win the game. Also recognising the schedule that we have and the future schedule the players have, and trying to manage certain individuals so they stay fit, or give them the best chance of staying fit throughout the season. So it's a delicate balance, but I think whoever I play in the squad, I'd back to help us win. Of course, managing the squad through the season is something that I'll have to do to the benefit of everybody.
Just on that, I mean, managers say they like to have 2 viable options for every position. How close are you to having that at the moment? Yeah,
I think bar the few injuries that we have, I think we're in a good place to deliver that. Of course, everyone's at different stages of their careers as well within the squad, but you just want to see everyone pushing to play in a healthy way through their performances in matches and in training.
Okay, Ian?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
There's probably only a handful of players in the Premier League who you would describe as world class. Is Tonali one of them?
Yeah, I think we have a few that I'd put in that bracket. But I sort of keep them to myself, really. I don't think me giving you a huge headline would necessarily help Sandro or the squad. But I really love my players. I think that's the key thing. Otherwise, I wouldn't have signed the majority that I have. I obviously inherited a few, and the players that are still here that I inherited, I obviously love. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here. So my love for my players is deep in terms of their game and what they can bring. I'll let you label them, but my opinion of them is really, really high.
It's coming up to 12 months since you settled on the midfield combination of Tonali with the two Brazilians. Is that how much life has that combination got? You've got obviously Miley is improving all the time, and you brought in Jake and Ramsey, but do you still consider those three as your first choice midfield?
I've never considered them the first choice midfield because it changes. That's the beauty of football. It can change from game to game. And form is always slightly up and down within the players. So what I want players to challenge that. The players that you mentioned are good enough to do that. The players that you mentioned, the three players you mentioned, are also good enough to withstand the pressure from other players. But it's that healthy competition that we need. My job is to try and help everybody get to their best levels of performance. And that's how I see it. So regardless of whether they're playing or not playing, it's developing the games and trying to push them to new levels.
Okay, we've got to Lee, to Chris and Craig, please.
Eddie, just on sort of players who've got a bit more experience, people like Fabian Schär, Kieran Trippier, do you have a job convincing sort of the board to give them extensions? Or are you under pressure to bring in younger players all the time now?
Yeah, those discussions are ongoing all the time. And now we have Ross here, which is a great thing for me. It allows me not to engage in those conversations too often because Ross will be speaking to the board and to the appropriate people throughout the season. I'll be, of course, speaking to Ross on a daily basis, but the sort of decisions on futures are a later date. It's about now. We're in the thick of the season. We've got game after game. The players' minds has been really good, I think, but they've been very focused on trying to deliver their best performances. And if they continue to play as well as they are, their futures will take care of themselves.
And just West Ham, Callum Wilson, if you'd had the opportunity to keep him, would you have done that yourself, or was that, again, a decision from higher up?
Yeah, I think my love for Callum is as high as it could ever be. There's a player and as a person who did what he did for me. You know, the games that he played, the goals that he scored, I'm talking historically as well, our time together at Bournemouth, the attitude that he played with on and off the pitch, the injuries and setbacks that he suffered and his character to fight through them. I couldn't respect him any more than I do. But I think sometimes for everybody, it's best that you have to part ways. That's a sad thing of life and football. You can't stay together forever. So I wish him well. I'm watching him and just wishing him the best.
Thanks, Lee. Chris?
More, Eddie, you mentioned earlier about now having a long throw. I mean, it's not really something we'd seen in the previous few years under you, and then Tino Livermento's doing obviously downburn now. What was there's a trend for set pieces in the Premier League now, but what was the genesis sort of for you guys sort of introducing that this year?
Well, I think the recruitment of a set piece specialist. So Martin's come in and he's done a really good job. So I think he immediately said he wanted to work on a long throw. So that was the sort of the inspiration behind it. And then, of course, as you say, it's been a trend this season in the Premier League. Long throws don't work unless you have a long throw. So it's good to see that we've got a couple of options. And we've got a group of players that sort of got a long throw, but not as long as maybe Dan and Tino. But we're working on them to try and get them longer. So we have a few more options.
And you mentioned height in recruitment. Is that something that has become more important, or is that something that you have considered for a while?
I think it's always been vital for me that you have, as I said, the height in the right areas of the team. Because if you don't, I think it does give you problems. You can have a very, very good player for the position, but if you're looking around and going, well, if these group of players are going to play with each other, we're not going to be big enough. That can give you long-term problems. So it's always a talking point within the coaching staff when we're looking at players and what positions and what profiles, how big they are.
Thank you. Craig?
quickly following on from that, did you literally have a long throw competition? Did you get everybody to throw the ball to determine who was the furthest?
We have done that. I don't know whether we did that this season. Definitely did it historically. There was some interesting results, yeah, from some of the guys that haven't thrown a ball before.
Just on the away form as well, you've always said historically you like your teams to play the same as they do at home and away. Is it fair to say away from home, especially going forward, you've looked very different this season? It's 1 goal in 4 matches, and that was a wonder goal from Nick. You're not creating what you would call traditional Newcastle chances. Is that fair, and how do you get that?
I think that's fair and unfair. I think at Aston Villa we were outstanding. Bournemouth we were very good defensively, but we were off attacking wise, and I think you could say the same for Leeds. What's the other game? Brighton. Yeah, I thought Brighton we sort of hit and miss. There were some really good bits from the attacking sense, and maybe some not so good bits. So a mixed bag there, and I don't think there's anything fundamentally wrong, and I don't see how we can play one way at home and be unrecognisable a few days later away. So the challenge is for us is to be ourselves.
Quickly check on Johan Wisser as well. West Ham, if we look at the dates, might have been a possibility. Is that at all possible? Is it Bilbao, Brentford? Where are we at on Wisser?
Yeah, well, it's definitely not West Ham. He's working very hard. He's on the grass. He's getting the fitness work in now that he needs. Yeah, I'd say he's not close to training with the group at the moment. Not through injury, but through fitness and making sure we build his robustness. So I'm not trying to be evasive. I don't know when the moment will be when he's back with the squad.
Thank you. We'll go to Dom, to Kieran, and then Jordan. Yep.
Just on Nick, Eddie, has he exceeded expectations just with how quickly and how much of an impact he's had?
Yeah, I think in terms of speed of settling in and how he's taken to the Premier League and playing in our style, I think he's exceeded expectations because we had high hopes for him, but you never quite know how quickly the player will be able to adapt to what you ask him to do, and it's credit to him that he's been able to do that. But I think it's down to his attitude that he has, because he's been very, very positive from minute one. The minute he walked through the door, he was himself, and that hasn't changed. Really cool, relaxed person, but very intense with his work, and it's a great combination.
And just on Johan, I'd seen he was in the dressing room in midweek, various social media pictures and clips of him behind the scenes. What's he like behind the scenes? Is he already a crucial figure, a key, popular part of the dressing room?
Yeah, I'd say he's got very strong character, and I think that comes across. So he's good with the players. He's very positive. He's a good talker. He's a leader. I think you can see that already. He's trying to inspire and help the players, which is sometimes very difficult when you come to a new club and you're injured straight away. That's a real tough mental challenge for him to take on, especially with his transfer fee. So there'll be a lot of emotions going through him, but all he can focus on is trying to get fit and then trying to make a difference on the pitch. And I think he can really help us when we get him fit.
Thank you. Kieran?
Maureen, you're approaching 4 years here. I was just wondering how you reflect on that and how it's kind of changed your life these last few years, I guess.
Yeah, I think it always amazes me when people sort of talk anniversaries and time, and you just think, where's the time gone? And you realise you're getting older, and all the people around you are getting older, and it's crazy how life works and how quickly it goes. But I think even quicker for me in this role, because the intensity of the role, the demands on me, don't give me time to breathe sometimes. So you're sort of on to the next thing very, very quickly, and then you look round and you go, well, that month went, and I didn't even know it was October. It's that kind of existence, but that makes it really enjoyable as well. I think the challenges the job brings, the focus you have to give, the commitment you have to give, it's just been an amazing 4 years, and just want to keep going.
Yeah, it feels maybe you're building a new team, kind of the players who've come in, the players who've gone. How determined are you to kind of build on what's come before?
Yeah, I think you keep trying to evolve and get better. So whatever group of players you have, try and maximize everything you have within that group. Try and push them to new levels. Try and help them in various ways. And that's what I've always done. That's what I'll always do, and try and do it to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Jordan?
Morning, Eddie. Just on team selection, how hard of a decision will it be to pick between Sven Botman and Fabian Schär? And do you risk upsetting one of those two this weekend, given how well they've performed?
Yeah, I think it's a type of decision. I'm not going to talk about necessarily that one specifically, but other choices that I have. For every 10 people you ask, you probably get 5 go one way, 5 go the other. And unfortunately, I'm the guy that has to make the final decision. So, but that's the beauty, or not so beautiful side of being a football manager. You have to make very difficult decisions, but you have to make one, and then you have to stick with it. And team selection, I think, is always the hardest call, because you're having to disappoint people that you really love, and you really rate, and you really don't want to do that. So that's one of the most difficult parts of the job. But I always do it with the best intentions, and that's to help the team win.
And just on Malik Chow, can you give us an insight into how when you first identified him in the process to sign him?
Yeah, well, Malik was a player we'd known for a long, long time, and we'd made various attempts to try and sign him, and it hadn't quite worked out in previous windows. This window, it felt like everything might align a bit better in terms of his situation at his club, our need, available funds, etc. There's a lot that goes into it, and thankfully that was the case. It wasn't an easy transfer to complete. He's obviously very highly rated, but I think I said a couple of weeks ago we were delighted to see off any other suitors and finally get him, and it felt like a long pursuit, but certainly worth the wait.
Go to Sean, and then we'll move on to Sundays.
Morning, Eddie. Just in terms of recruitment there, Aaron Ramsdale came in the other night and played really well. It looked like it was pretty seamless in terms of like his relationship with the defenders, the full-backs, the centre-halves. Is that a testament to sort of the work he's put in on the training ground and the sort of character he has in terms of he's had to buy into a role where he's been a bit of a backup keeper so far this season?
I think it's certainly testament to his attitude and his work, I think, and also to that of the goalkeeper coaches, Adam and Schwan, who have worked tirelessly with him, and as they do all the goalkeepers. I think Aaron's shown a great attitude since he's come to us. Very, very positive, upbeat, which is very difficult when you're not playing. But he's done that every day. Big smile on his face, wants to be here. And I think that has then carried him into that performance that he gave, because it was an outstanding one. It was for him. Made some great saves, commanded his box well, distributed the ball brilliantly. Really positive night for him, but I think it's for everyone else to look at and go, that's how you behave if you're not playing.
And just longer term, and how difficult is it to sort of pick between him and Nick? Because obviously Nick's been outstanding this season as well. It must be difficult for you to sort of balance that in terms of keeping them both happy.
Yeah, as I say, I don't look at it in terms of keeping both players happy. I don't think you can manage like that. It's about picking one player. Obviously, when you have a decision to make, and then talking to the other player and trying to identify areas that he needs to improve to take his game forward.
Okay, concludes this part.
There you go. Interesting questions today, I must admit. Don't forget, guys, you guys are still on mute, so undo your mute buttons before we crack on. Especially you, Corey, you're still on mute, dude. So I said,
I was just giving Win Gray for being on mute while I was on mute. So
I tell you, the amount of times that happened to me at the start, because you just automatically go into autopilot.
Instant karma.
Absolutely. Some amazing questions today, if I'm honest with you.
Very good presser today, I thought.
That was probably the best of the season, if I'm honest with you.
I would agree with you, yeah. So many points covered and all pertinent.
Absolutely. So listen, Will, I can see you've starred a few people in the chat. So I will let you crack on and we'll answer a couple of those. But just while you're getting that ready, go on.
Another must-win game, 5 points off fourth place. Table very congested. We need to keep moving up, says Shane. Question from Paul Wright. Do you consider Gateshead or the Heed to be separate to Newcastle or part of the same thing? Well, if you speak to people in Gateshead, they'll say they are a separate entity. But it's all tying in we, and we're all one big Newcastle United family. That's all we're about. As long as they support the tune, they're part of the tune. That's where I come in around. When BDB first came, he couldn't break the lanes with his passing like he can now. He has definitely improved with the ball.
Agreed.
Rugby analyst. Big question is, who's the starting centre-back partnership? Shea was brilliant when he came on Wednesday night. What a lovely problem to have.
Absolutely.
I hope someone asked about it. I hope, and they did.
And they were.
And
Yeah.
on that, he was asked about Botman. And he said, typical Eddie, I am not going to talk specifically about that pick. And he says, that's the hardest part of the job, but that's what I've got to do. When I'm picking what I think is best for the club. If we get one past West Ham early, they will implode. You saw it the other day. They completely lost all interest. I think that's... I mean, it's the same in any game, really. You know, the first goal is so important. But I feel sorry for East Bacon, West Ham. They are in a similar situation to us, and they're asking me. That's what I was saying last night. Yeah, there looks to be no spirit at all, and the fans are turning on the board. And you know, when you're in that, when everybody isn't pulling in the same direction, the results never go for you. Family fun flat with Jess says, I have never felt we had a team like this. Well, a squad like this, I think, is probably what you mean, Jess.
Welcome on board. That's a new one I haven't seen before. Welcome on board, Jess.
Yep. Roger Cook is saying the way on Ross specifically, he said, I'll be reporting to Ross on a daily basis. And he didn't say it with any animosity, you know, it was just, we're in constant contact more or less. You know, what a difference when he used to be, I haven't spoken to him for weeks, so whatever.
Absolutely.
His predecessor, so very happy with him.
He's definitely got a better relationship with Ross, that's for sure, just by the sounds of that.
Rugby saying, he hated him. I'm pretty sure Mitchell wanted Howe to do poorly and put pressure on him to be sacked. Well, if you remember that Crystal Palace game, when Crystal Palace scored and the camera focused on, it was Bunce as well, actually, and Mitchell in the stand. And they looked to be almost positively gloating because Crystal Palace had taken the lead. Bogey, he cannot resist, can he? And he's coming up with more reasons to keep Big Dan in the team. Long throws now. But Eddie seems miles more upbeat today. And that was interesting as well. That was what Craig asked him about long throws. And he said that since Matt came in, Martin came in, the new set-piece coach, they've actually had a long throw competition between the players. So it's obviously something that they are looking at. And it's become very prevalent this season, particularly in the Prem. There's a lot of teams taking...
Especially Brentford. Brentford they're merchants at it. They're incredible.
I think tactics have more or less stepped back a few years, if I'm honest with you. I think absolutely. I think the problem is when Pep come in and changed the psychology of football to a degree, people took a shine to his team and wanted to follow steps, and they realised unless you have the quality of the individual players to perform that level of football, it's very difficult to play out of your lines. So I love the fact that now we have gone back to the old way of playing, and that is getting it into the danger zones. And
me too.
You've seen
position of maximum opportunity.
Maximum opportunity, absolutely. And I think for me, you get the ball, you deliver the ball into the right zones early. It puts oppositional teams, in such stress that sometimes they make mistakes because your mindset just doesn't cope with that volume of all the time of delivering the ball. And I think you have to deliver it in the right areas. And for me, the long throws, it's like people still question, why are we kicking the ball from the centre circle into the corners? Because you're on the high press straight away. It puts them under pressure before they've had time to actually get match sharp. So I love the way we're playing at the moment, and I certainly think, even though there has been some criticism towards Mark about the delivery of the set pieces, you've certainly seen the rewards coming from it now. How often did we score a set piece last season? Wasn't very often.
Score from a corner. We
Yeah.
never score from
That's
a
the one.
corner. We do
So,
now.
yeah, very good.
Mighty Mark saying that he feeling the love today. Mentioned it several times. Indeed, he did. We'll come on to a few of those. Eddie's such a great guy. I love his character and his answers to questions. And North Shields, Jeff, great show, lads. I can feel a winning run coming on. Well, we're into it already, man. We're into it already.
Thanks,
the
Jeff.
winning run has begun. And long may it continue. So that's all of them for the time being.
Brilliant. Before we carry on then, and we'll get an in-depth discussion on some of the points that were brought up into today's presser, which, again, for me, fantastic, great presser. I just want to be a massive shout out to Geordie Boot Boys. As you can see, the ticker tape that comes flowing through our screens is from their website. So anybody that wants to and should do, especially if you're a Newcastle fan, go and visit their channel, their webpage. Brilliant information on there. So massive shout out to them. Right then, Win.
Yeah. So anyway, going back to the presser, we started off with injuries as usual. Lewis Hall is in good shape, but we'll have to see how he does in training. Asula, his ankle injury, as we were, no change. You know, we're just trying to manage it. It's not critical, but we're he'll get his minutes in the team if need be. With regard to the West Ham game, it says back-to-back wins in the Premiership are the key. That's how you claim the table, which is, of course, what we're aiming for. On the Fulham Carabao Cup draw, he says, a home draw is, as long as we've got a home draw, we're happy. And so, as a consequence of that, we are happy. On West Ham specifically, he says, well, they've got very good attacking options. But he said he went back to last season, which, if you remember, was the game before the cup final, and would be on a bit of an iffy run. And he says that was a massive win for us last season, and we need to try and replicate that this season because our away form has not been good enough. And again, West Ham and Callum Wilson, and the reunion with Callum Wilson, and he said, well, I'm going to beat him. But after the match, I'll be giving them a hug and telling them how much I love them, basically. And then we got into the really interesting stuff about the depth of squad that we've got now and the decisions he's got to make in various positions. And his quote that I've taken from it specifically was, "One bad game can cost you."
Yeah.
So when you get your chance, you've got to perform, and if you're already in the team, one bad game can cost you your place because we've got people knocking on the door in every position. And then he was asked about Big Nick, saying, did he agree with the press that was going around these days, how he's absolutely fantastic, and Eddie, feet on the ground as usual, said it's early days and I prefer to keep my answer saved for a future date because time will tell.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
On and off the pitch, he's been first class and his team ethics are brilliant. Some of the interplay on Wednesday, he was pivotal too. We still have to bring out more from his game, but the early signs are really positive. He has variety and he is not one-dimensional. With his height and technical ability, it can be a surprise for his opponents. His challenge is consistency and long-term success, as teams will find plans on how to deal with him. And I think to an extent they already have, as we've seen with all the WWE tactics. So that was so feet on the ground as usual, but very, very positive for Big Nick. As I said, he said I'm reporting to Ross Wilson on a daily basis. We've talked about the long throws. Wissa is still, quote unquote, not close to training with the group. So he's on grass, but he isn't yet training with the group. Botman, we've talked about. Malik Chow, interesting. He was asked about Malik and how long had the club been interested in him, and they said, we've been looking to sign him for a long, long time. His exact words, a long, long time. He went on to explain the various windows where we were trying to sign him but couldn't for financial reasons or various other things, but they've had him on their radar for a long, long time. And finally, the notes I've made here are Ramsdale. He was asked specifically about how good Ramsdale performance was on Wednesday and how the back four, it was a bit of a loaded question, how the back four seemed to be very comfortable playing with him. And he said he's had a great attitude. He's bought in to having a back seat, and he's had a great attitude every day, and everybody else within the squad needs to adopt his attitude of working hard when you're not in the team, and when you get in the team, you'll be better for it. And he said that was shown on Wednesday night when Ramsdale's been doing all the hard yards without any game time, but when he's put in, his performance was exemplary. So they are all the notes I've made. I don't know if you guys...
I mean, to be fair, what I was just going to say, I've written virtually the same as what you guys, about what you've just said there. Corey, what was your first thoughts then, mate, about what you've heard from Eddie Howe? I mean, for me, the one thing I absolutely love, because everybody talks about the superstars, and you look through, Tonali's name's always mentioned. Voltamada now is always mentioned. And I think what we forget is there's players around these guys that don't shine. And as we've seen that with the Rat now at Liverpool, unless you feed in the right areas, Newcastle itself and the setup that Eddie Howe has played brings the worst and it brings the best out of players. So, by highlighting individuals, as Eddie Howe refrained from doing, which I think is absolutely fantastic, because it is an individual in set plays, but it's how the team build up and it's how the team plays together and work hard that gets you the results. What was your thoughts on the overall thing that Eddie Howe come across with?
Yeah, well, I think Eddie's pretty consistent with not putting labels on any of his players, and I think that's quite right not to do it. I think it's just unnecessary pressure on a player, to be honest. The journos usually try and get Eddie to declare whether a player's world class or what sort of level they're at, and he protects the squad. He doesn't like to put too much emphasis on the world class, but yeah, I think he protects the players really well. And like you said, there's only world-class players if the system's world-class. And I think our system is pretty close to being world-class, to be fair. So, yeah, there's no one particular player that, outshines the next. And, without the bloke next to the world-class player, they're not always world-class. So, yeah, I think fantastic by Eddie today, to be fair.
Superb. I just want to bring this up because I don't know. Prince of Chaos 7, which pub near Stratford are we meeting on Sunday? I don't know. I haven't been invited, if I'm honest with you. Managed to get tickets but in the home end. So going to need to go undercover. Yeah, be careful. down there. Especially...
well, that's the thing. You see, it won't be difficult getting tickets because
No.
they've got the boycott on, and again, that can only surely work in our favour.
Absolutely, there's a lot of pressure underneath there, but it's nice now that you're in and around Stratford, because that ain't a million miles from me. So if ever you want to meet up, have a job.
I don't think he's talking about Stratford on Avon. I think he's talking about Stratford in London, where the West Ham Stadium is.
Right, got you. Oh, fair enough.
That makes a bit more sense.
That's fair enough. He's also put in a question to us. Let's batter him on Sunday. I can't say the other word that he's put. And there was another one that he's put in.
As a quick question, would you be disappointed in Eddie Howe if he starts J7? After how well Ramsey linked up with Tonali and Barnes.
Well, that was his question. Who would you pick against West Ham? And I think the only obvious one for me is fitness. I think we all know that Ramsey does suffer with the usual injuries when overloaded, and I think that was his downfall through his Villa years, because it was very much all or nothing with Ramsey. And I think it's about management of players now from Eddie Howe. And I think what he's tried to do without trying to be, as we've seen before, a lesser squad, there's always a question mark about the balance and the quality that you're throwing out there when you throw so many new bodies into a game. And I think what we've seen, and again, this is a massive pat on the back for all of the coaching staff, is the way the lads don't look as though they've never played together before. It's as if they've literally hit the field of play, and it's like they've been together for years. And that, to me, against a very strong Tottenham side, maybe not their first 11 that they wanted to pick, but when you look at paper, it was still a strong side. Lots of internationals on that field of play. And these boys that come on, and we've got to understand, Harvey Barnes isn't a newbie. He's been here. He understands the way the team flows and everything else. But the Ramseys, we know Malik Chow, what he gives us. But the main body for me is that midfield. When Willock and Ramsey come into the midfield, that was my senior doubts. That was where I'm thinking, are we going to get a strong midfield, because you need to battle? And again, it was Thomas Frank having to change his tactics so early on because of the amount of domination that Newcastle were pressing. By bringing Xavi into the middle, he wanted to unbalance us a little bit. He wanted to try and pull Willock back from Voltemada, because, as Win has just said, the only way really to play against Voltemada, as we saw against Fulham, is to wrestle him. But that's when you need a referee to protect you. So, for me, I think Voltemada at the minute brings Newcastle a totally different dimension. But what we've needed, and we've needed from the outset, and we didn't really see it when Voltemada started with Newcastle, was players to link in and behind. And now we started
in
to see
front.
the likes of, well, it was players that were willing to run past him. He's got vision. Yeah, he has got vision. And he's got such a delicate touch for being such a tall player. What he does is he becomes not only our next midfielder, if you like, he also is able to break lines if players are willing to make them run. So for me...
Well, as I say, we had spent 2 years specifically making Isak the focal point of all of our attacks. Feed the goat. And that's had to change. So not only has Nick had to learn to play with brand new players all around him, but those players themselves have had to adopt to this new system where all of a sudden, hang on, we need to be getting in front of this guy. And it's not going to happen overnight. And it's just, I just think it's going to get better and better and better as the understandings build up. I've got a really positive outlook.
Yeah, it's pretty evident with making 8 changes, and then I think making that many changes and then it being one of the best passing games that we've had in the season just speaks volumes to the quality of the squad that we have now. like Gary said, it's a lot of, for the first time this season, it's a lot of first time a lot of those players have been playing together, and it looked like they've been playing a full season together. It was, just incredible link up play, and we're just stacked, to be honest, and should give us a very good stead to go up against a very poor West Ham side.
Yeah, I think there's certain individuals of West Ham that we've still got to be wary of. I mean, I watched the game last night while I was listening to the lads. I watched the extended highlights of the Leeds West Ham game just to see where it's all going wrong a little bit. And when you listen to the podcasts of the Hammers, they're all of an agreement that their biggest threat, if you like, is the younger lads that aren't getting played. Now, we had the same issue when we talk about pace in midfield. If you look at the likes of Souček in the middle of the park, I can't remember the other lad's name. Irving is the other midfielder. Very, very lax when it comes to pace. And I watched a couple of the Leeds breaks from Aaron coming through the middle of the park, and literally he just walked virtually the ball through the two of them. We know Souček likes to drive into the right-hand side because of the way Bowen plays. And that's what I said. I looked at Bowen's overhead shot at goal yesterday. Absolute quality. And if you could pick any player from I think West Ham that would absolutely bring the Newcastle side together, it would be Bowen on that right-hand side. Because he plays the way that you want them to play. He has that mindset to get the ball under control and drive at the defenders, which is something that we've laxed a little bit on that right-hand side. We do have elements of it, but it's not with control and commitment. And I think, like I say, individuals, they can hurt you. It was interesting to talk about Callum Wilson. I mean, obviously, he's still got a very a lot of fondness towards him. But like he said, and I love that, we've still got a job to do. So I'll put my arms around him after the game, I thought that was fantastic. But again, Callum Wilson hasn't hit any high notes at West Ham. Be interested to see if Nuno Espirito gives Callum the start against his former club to see if that will get an extra 5% out of him.
Well, he loved playing against West Ham, didn't he? I think he scored more against West Ham than any other team.
I was going to say that.
But as I say, I think we'll see massive improvements when we get Wisser up in there as well, because he'll automatically, his natural instinct is to be, in front of Big Nick, and I also think that could bring the best. To be fair, we haven't seen much of a Langer at all. He hasn't pulled up any trees.
But I think with West Ham at home, and they are playing with this three. Well, it's like wing backs, but he's playing like. I mean, we were talking about the young lad yesterday who was substituted after 20 odd minutes. And by all accounts and reports that I've read, he dislocated his shoulder. So he's a left back that was playing, or that's his natural position. And under Potter and previous managers, they've been playing this young lad who's a natural left back at right back. And this is what we're talking about with Dan Burn, isn't it? Who would you play there? And gamble like the likes of West Ham that are struggling as a team at the minute. You put a young kid who's a bit naive, that's a natural left back, you put him at right back. And then what you go and do is throw him at right wing back in a position that he's completely unnatural at, So this is what I said. When you manipulate a team and you gamble by just pulling one player out of position, it can throw a whole different aspect on your game. I do apologise. I am looking down a lot because my new kitten is destroying everything and anything he can get his hands on. And he's pulling on all my wires and everything else. So I'm trying to get him settled on my lap.
So guys, if we disconnect from the live stream, we can all blame Gary's new kitten for that
yeah,
one.
we can
Blame
book it,
Gary's
yeah.
pussy.
Oh, be careful. We are still in the watershed. But yes, that's another channel. Anyway, hello. Yes, I know. I can see you. Oh, his claws are going straight into my thigh. If I grimace, you know what it is. It is just his into my thigh, though. Luckily.
What are you doing under there, Gary?
Yeah, exactly. So interesting comment about, and we must address it, I suppose, because, like I say, it was a very interesting one, and a point where the conversation towards Botman, Cher, Malik Chow, obviously Dan Burn coming back into his natural position once the fullbacks are fit, and by all accounts, Lewis Hall, well, he's having a light fitness test when it comes to the West Ham game, but we'll probably, if he does become fit, will only make the bench.
Make the bench.
Oh dear. Anything dangles and it's got his claws in it. Toonley fans, says Geordie Dan. Absolutely, mate. So, I mean, that is in itself, you know, we talk about being a favourable decision because of the depth of that quality as centre-backs. But it's about that balance, isn't it? You know, it's about having the jobs that individually they can all bring to the squad. And like I said, the one thing that I've noticed so far is the Fabian Shaw, who has now come out and said that he's willing to do an extended contract. And from what I've seen, you're getting that extra 5% out of him, which is what I've always said. The one thing that I've noticed with Fabian Shaw, especially when he hasn't had competition, when we got Lascelles injured, was a little bit fly-by-night, a little bit, it doesn't matter whether I have a poor game because I'm always in the squad. That changes now. That mental approach to the game changes.
Throughout the team.
Absolutely. And for me, I think what Eddie Howe has got, as daft it looks, is multiple choices to make. Because, like I say, not only has he got to get the right players, he's got to get the right balance between the two players. And at this present moment in time, the two that are starting to, well, it's at least shined on Wednesday, was Shaw and Chow, because of what they deliver with that ball from the back. It's passing lanes for me, And like I say, Wynn has been a little bit critical on times with Botman because he's square passing rather than direct and progressive passing. And we know that Dan Burn, bless him, even though he's massively improved, is still limited towards what he can deliver regarding that long pass. And I think, what you've got now is the best of both worlds. Well, we've seen it down the line. His pass to Gordon the other day was phenomenal down that line. You know what I mean? So it's not, like I said, this isn't me trying to discredit the ability of the man, because I do believe since he's been under Eddie Howe's manta, he has become a better passer of the ball. But under his own admission, when he was talking in that interview, he did say, I'd rather pass it to a bloke that can rather than me take a punt.
Gary changed his name to Claude. Hello, Claude.
Hello, Claude. Yeah, exactly. They feel a little bit...
The only other thing I forgot from the presser, actually, because somebody said that the Newcastle United official social media post this week had lots and lots of videos on Wissa in the, at the training ground.
Exactly. That's what I said the other day, yeah.
And he said he has a very strong character, and that comes across. He's good with the players. He's very positive. He's a leader. You can see that already. He's trying to inspire and help the players, which is sometimes very difficult when you come to a new club and you're injured. That's a really tough mental challenge for him to take on, especially with his transfer fee. There'll be lots of emotions going through him at the minute, but all he can focus on is trying to get fit, and that's what he's doing, and trying to make a difference on the pitch. I think we can really help him when we get him fit.
Camaraderie, from what I've seen on the social media things, where you've got, they're all taking, they're all having a little bit of a go at each other. Yeah, and it's just all in banter, and it was, I love the one where Wissa is holding the picture up and get Malik Chow signing, and he's in his posh gear, and he's got a nice smile on his face. It's a proper one by the professional photographer. And you can see him on the bike Malik chair when he's trying to take the phone off him, and they're just laughing and joking. And I love that. And I think that is what every club needs. Prince of Chaos is in the chat still, and he's talking about set piece goals. They've conceded 9 goals from corners. And I must admit, the Leeds set pieces, and you look at the delivery, 6-yard box on the edge, so easy, it was unreal. And I think from what I've seen of our deliveries coming in and where we are playing the ball now, which is within those danger zones, crowding that 6-yard area. And it's not because of Walter Marder coming in, who gives us that other 6'6" to aim at. There's a lot of big players there now.
Well, yeah.
I think there's goals.
On
I think there's goals.
Yeah. And Chow's had a couple of chances.
Yeah.
Lately, so all augurs well, but we've got to keep it going. That's the main thing.
Absolutely. Final word then, Corey. What do you think of the presser this morning?
Oh, incredible presser. Like you said, Gary, I think it was the level of journalism definitely stepped up for the first time I think I've seen in a few months. Eddie was really upbeat, pretty humorous at the start of the press conference, which is a bit of a change for him. So, I loved it, to be honest. It was a great watch tonight. And, the only thing about West Ham as well, I'm pretty happy to keep the exact same team. The defence, either way, you could bring in anyone from that defence or keep it the same, and I'd be absolutely over the moon. But I would love to see J7 come in and, just cause a bit of a disruption to West Ham, because I think he can really get in their heads. And I think J7, probably the only player I want to see come in on the weekend against West Ham.
Well, interesting. Because I was of the opinion that with Ramsey having done so well, and he's a more progressive player than what J7 is, and I think I can't see us having to, famous last words, of course, but I can't see us being under much pressure against West Ham.
That's strictly why I want J7 to come in, just to disrupt that midfield, put pressure on Irvin, get into his head, and they're going to capitulate. I think it's a mental thing with West Ham at the moment, and you get a player like J7 who's just so good at rallying them up. I think that could be a real big difference in midfield, but that's the quality we have right now.
Big three in midfield.
Yeah, just just get into their heads, get them angry, and then get them yellows, get them reds, get them sent off, and just disrupt them. To be fair.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought, because for me, you don't need a disruptor in and amongst the West Ham middle, because there's nothing nasty about the West Ham middle. I think for me, I'd want runners. I'd want players like Ramsey getting the ball under control and running through the middle to get them turned towards their own goal and running back, because they looked at 6s and 7s against Leeds. And like I said, we just didn't show up against Leeds, which is a shame, really. And the one thing I quite like about the presser today was Eddie Howe being honest and being open, saying about, defensively we look solid, but in some games, offensively, on the attack, we just haven't turned up. And in games where we have turned up as a team, we just haven't had the finish. For whatever reason, we can say, without having a set striker on board. But again, you can't just keep reliant on one goal scorer throughout a season. You have to have multiple scorers, and I think that would to me was, like I say, it was a nice way to finish. A couple of things for me I want to end this session on. One, it was nice to have Corey break his NUFC talk virginity. He pressed the button. We got on board, and we after all the technical issues at the start, we got there in the end. Fabulous presser, probably the best one of the season. Really interesting one. Nice to know that the lads are very close to coming back into the squad from their injuries. Can't wait for the international break to be over, so we can start to see the fruits of Eddie's labour in the off season. So until later on, where the fun and frolic start. Is it an 8 o'clock start tonight?
8 o'clock party time. We're going to the tune.
We're going to the tune with the lads tonight. So if you've got your this evening ready to go, it is obviously well, it's going to be trick or treat night tonight for me. So I am out with the kids trick or treating. Dressed, well, I don't need to dress up. I scare myself sometimes when I look at me. So until the next one, well, 8 o'clock tonight, join the boys. But thank you so much for your support and coming on board.
Smash the likes on the way out. Smash the likes, please.
Indeed. See you all. It's a goodbye from them over
join
there.
us tonight when we will be on fire.
It's a goodbye from this little Tinkerbell here, because he's doing my, I was gonna say he's doing my nutting, but that's another show. I'll see you on the next one, team. Au revoir. Look at him here with the fire burning.
We're going to be on fire tonight.
Indeed.
Karaoke win, mate.
Take care.